All right, so I am interviewing Dr. Kenitra Brooks from University of Texas San Antonio today on being conditionally admitted into graduate school. And this is just part of the mini series that I'm doing because I want this story to be told. I think we tell so many other stories about graduate school, but not necessarily how being admitted impacts people of color. So Dr. Brooks, thank you for agreeing to this webinar. I was really shocked that you shared this in comment with me, but I'm so glad that we're able to talk about it now. So if you will, just tell us a little bit about you and what you do.
So my name is Kenitra Brooks. I am originally from New Orleans, Louisiana. I have my PhD in comparative literature, and I work on African-American and Afro-Caribbean, English, Spanish, and French-speaking Caribbean earlier in my career. Now I do a mixture of a lot of different things. But I am mostly known for my work in Black women in horror studies. So I have a book coming out, Searching for Cigarettes, Black Women Haunting Contemporary Horror, is coming out in December on Rutgers University Press. I have a book of creative short stories that I've edited. I did not write, but I edited them, and I wrote the introduction, the foreword, called Sycorax's Daughters. So I've developed this idea and this metaphor of Sycorax from The Tempest, who's often read as a Black woman, a woman of color, a North African woman. And she's dead, but they keep talking about her, and she sort of haunts the play. I talk about and use the metaphor of Black women in horror, that we're there and yet not, yet people are kind of obsessed with this idea of us. And, you know, I insist that Black women have been writing horror for a very long time, and what that entails, and what Black women horror creators, what they create, how they challenge and push not only horror studies, but Black feminist literary studies as well.
Wow, that's a lot. You've done a lot. And it's so very interesting. Like, I'm always interested in these types of things. So can you tell us a little bit about your academic path prior to the PhD, or that moment where you got accepted? Like, what type of student were you? What were your experiences?
I was a high achieving student, which is, you know, I wasn't a straight A student. That was never my thing, but I made A's and B's pretty easily.
Yeah.
I had a certain discipline. With it, I went to like the top high school in the city. Then I went to Xavier University of Louisiana. I'm a third generation Xavierite. So at HBCU, which has become very important to me, I got into Ivy League school, but my parents were like, no, because I was a year ahead of myself.
Gotcha.
But I actually just made 16, going into 17. I was really, really, I was a year behind everyone. I got into Columbia. And my parents were like, we ain't sent you real young. And I'm very, very grateful for that. Now, at that point in time, I was not. And I kept going, but Lauryn Hill goes to Columbia, Mama, Lauryn. Which you can see that I was still very young-minded, as that was what I was basing
your academic career.
But I got a wonderful mentor there, Dr. Michelle Levy, who actually was from the program that I got into. So she was the chair of the English department at Xavier, and she had her PhD in comparative literature. And I always knew that was what I wanted to do. And I knew I wanted to study Black people everywhere.
Yeah.
Even then, I kind of knew that I was going to wind up with somebody who was not American, and I was based it on who I wanted to kind of date and hang with. People think stuff is real intellectual, but it's not. It's like, oh, they're cute over there. I need to learn their language.
Yeah.
I could date them. Funny. But so what I actually I knew I wanted to do Black folks everywhere, and I really thought I was going to do a lot with Afro-Latin identity. So I knew I needed to learn Spanish, and I started out as a biology pre-med major. I did. I thought I wanted to be an OBGYN and all those things. And then I met like organic chemistry, and I hated it. But also, like, I didn't get it because my professor was very good. He had a very heavy accent.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I recognized that he had a heavy accent. But then I was like, you know what? Even if I could understand what he was saying, I wouldn't understand what he was. I remember this moment very vividly. I was sitting like near the front of the thing, and I was just like, Lord, this ain't for me. I was like, this ain't for me, Lord.
Yeah.
And so I call that the semester of C's. And I got C's in everything except for A in English. And that was the only class that I enjoyed. And so I switched to English major, and I didn't tell my parents. But you know, HBCUs tell your parents everything, and they send all the letters. They don't believe in HIPAA really. And so, and all that kind of stuff. Like, we can't tell your business. They like,
yeah.
It's so funny because on the first day at the orientation, when your parents are there, they're like, well, there's a letter that you can sign. And they were like, you know, you don't have to sign it, but it's nice. And so everybody's parents are like, you gonna sign that letter.
Sign this letter.
Sign this letter right now. And so my mom got the letter, and she was like, you changed your major and all these things, and you just want to do what that lady does. And I was like, yeah, I kind of do. I was like, you just want to do that lady? I was like, no, she's doing kind of what I want to do. So I switched to English. I became an English major. And because of that semester of C's, I graduated with like a 3.3. Like, you know, I didn't have a really high GPA because of that.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to say, like, you know, I wasn't like magna cum laude,
right,
cum laude and all those things. I wasn't. Because I switched my major, and it affected my GPA a lot. So that happened. And then I knew that I wasn't ready for a PhD program. I also knew, because with comparative literature is where you are reading in different languages as well. And they let you come in with 2 languages and let you pick up a third while you're there. So at that point, I only really had English.
Right.
I learned Spanish. So I did a master's in international public health, and I learned reproductive health counseling. And with a capstone, you could do it in another country. So I lived on the Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico.
Wow.
Like half a year, for like 6 months, and I learned Spanish.
Wow.
So I got a degree, and I got my Spanish language requirements and could work in it. And then I applied to the program. I applied to UNC's program.
And so how did that look for you applying there? So we know your journey up until this point. So what happened when you applied?
When I applied, I think I only applied to like 3 or 4 programs. And I only got into the UNC program, but I also think because a lot of the comp lit programs, one, remember I was coming from international public health.
Absolutely.
And 2, a lot of the comp lit programs are like you to have an ancient language. And I just was not interested in, like, they're like, you have to have Greek or Latin or Sanskrit or Mandarin, like those 4. And I was like, I don't want to. Not believe in my blessing. I don't.
Yeah.
And again, I don't want to date the men there. So what's my investment?
Okay. So how were you admitted? Tell us about that.
So I was admitted into the program. I received a fellowship, a first-year fellowship called the Latani fellowship. So they gave me like a special scholarship and things like that. But what they told me is, because I was coming from public health, I was coming from science, and I didn't have an MA, that after a year of classes, I would have to write a letter to the chair of the program, making sure I was in good standing and asking him to formally bring me into the program. So that was my conditional acceptance, because, you know, they weren't sure that I wouldn't wash out. And you know, a lot of people told me that I couldn't go from a master's in international public health and doing that kind of work to doing the comp lit work.
Wow.
And to me, it's just always fit together. Like really weird and interesting things will fit together in weird ways for me and in my mind. And I'm like, but reproductive health counseling, all these things work in terms of women having control of their fertility. And I can't write the great novel if I got 15 children running around, all these things. So, you know, and I've always believed in women having reproductive freedom and reproductive health. And that's also where I sort of like made my social justice bones, right? I'm working in the communities. I wanted to make sure that I had that work done.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know how much that I could do with that in academia and how much I could devote to it. I wanted to practically help Black women before I went into theoretically helping Black women. So I finished my program. I worked at the where did I work? I worked at the free clinic, interviewing women who had just found out that they were pregnant. And talking to them about their like reproductive choices. And a lot of times, you know, it is not planned. And so I got to have really, really interesting conversations. And, you know, it was part of a qualitative health study and working with women. And I learned a lot. I learned a lot.
Yeah, that's good. So did that letter, having to write that letter, did that impact you in any way? Did it influence you in the program or anything?
It's really weird because at the time, I didn't really process it as something that was so different.
Okay.
It's only later that I was like, oh, that was like a conditional acceptance and these sorts of things. But I was doing so many other things, and I was, you know, I was a lot of the only. I was the only, but I was making myself not the only by making my first language English and working with African American authors, but then also bringing in Spanish and French in terms of Black authors from all around the world. And it just wasn't, it was really weird. I've just always been an odd fit. So it was one more thing that made me an odd fit. Yeah, I didn't carry it or see it as a burden. It was just like one other thing I got to do because I think of things in different ways, and I see where I want to go. I know what I want to do and what hoops I got to do to get there. So come on, let me write this letter and move on. I think that's really good because I didn't have that experience. I had the, oh my God, this is a weight. And you was like, this is a badge. You know, we're going to make this a positive. And I didn't come into that revelation until now. Right. So do you think that... I have a question though, but do you think because the way it was explained to me was very sort of like, oh, just do this letter and whatever, a big deal wasn't made out of it. And other people were doing other things around and other people had to do this and that. Do you think was a big deal made out of it for you?
Well, I made the big deal out of it. It was a letter that said, we are admitting you conditionally. So your first year, you are on basically academic probation. You need to maintain this certain GPA. And then after a year, we will lift that. And then you will be a regular admin. So it was like, I was on academic probation for the first time ever. And I was like, I was a high performing student.
Yes, you were. I read your application, my dear. We wanted to.
Thank you. And then I was in the classroom, and it played into my performance in the classroom because I felt like everyone else got in how they wanted to get in. Right? They didn't have to work hard. They didn't have to prove themselves in the first year like I did. So I was like, I was the reject. To me, I was the reject. You know, even though. And then later I found out people got waitlisted, and I was like, well, I really didn't know that was a thing. So I didn't get waitlisted, but I also didn't get fully in either. Right? So I was like, okay, well, maybe, but still, it had a negative impact on me.
And again, they are making, you know, I think things happen. I think we are blessed in certain ways. I think that, you know, they are making a special space for you. Um, and I'm pretty sure, you know, having been in like that PhD application room and ranking people, they were saying, you know what, let's let her in. I think we don't let people know how, you know, intense that room can be and those sorts of things. And some people lie right on the edge and they're like, let's get them here and get them into the program. So they you know, they actually made this special place for you that other people didn't get because they were waitlist. They didn't even get in.
Yeah, now that I can see that now the relationship is different. But then going while I'm out of the situation, now, but in it, I was like, I don't belong here, you know?
I was it's really weird because we were a very close class, a cohort. And we were able to be really, really close because everyone was doing something different in Comp Lit, and it had different languages. So even if you were working on, like you were both working in French, I was working on Caribbean Black folks, you were working on African Black folks. So, you know, we were allowed to be very close, so there wasn't a lot of competition. And the person who helped me out the most, because I was that first year, like everybody knows all these things. I don't know, like who is Batin? Like what the hell is going on here? Like one of my first classes was Freud to Lacan, and I'm like, who? Like who is Lacan? And so I was really good friends with this guy named David Phillips, who was this country white boy from Randolph County, North Carolina. And we would always hang out at each other's like house and whatever. And he was like, I remember he was like sitting there like playing on the PlayStation or whatever, because we were clearly into our studies.
Right.
And I was like, dude, all these people know all this stuff and I don't know it, David, like what I'm gonna do. And David was like, bullshit, them people don't know that. They done read like 2 pages and all that. He's like, them people don't know that. They lying. And David is one of like the smartest dudes I've ever known. He was just very, very, you know, plain spoken and all these things, but his mind was amazing. And for him to say like, you are smart, these people are lying, keep going about your business, and us being friends with each other and helping us through those difficult times was very, very helpful. I think those relationships were very, very helpful.
Definitely.
I just had a lot of people like looking out for me. Dr. Harris being one of them.
She looks out for you.
Yes.
She looks out for you. She definitely does.
Like, come here, child. You are
come.
Like, oh, you just so let me just help you a little bit. Like, I really think she like felt sorry for me and was like, this little poke thing here. Like, how do I just get her to like at least basic levels of being able to do anything? I don't know.
Yeah, I understand that at this stage of my so being that you just saw that as like this one thing you had to do, I guess what would be your advice to someone who didn't have the conditional admit position like you did, like this is just a thing, right? Let's not make a big deal of it. Who gets that letter like I did and was like, I don't belong here, you know, or who's already kind of battling everything that goes along with going to graduate school. What advice would you give them in their matriculation through the program?
I think you need to understand that the academy is not made for us. It's not made for any of us. It's a medieval like construct, right? You basically train as an artisan under a master, and then you go out on their letters and someone gives you a job based on those letters and their name. And medieval Europe constructs just ain't made for people like us. So they just happen to put it in letter form, and at least you know straight up front that you're not meant to fit in here.
Okay.
My dad had, you know, one of the things he always said, like, I like to know where I stand. If you can't stand my guts, if you hate the ground that I walk on, Thank you. Because now I know where I stand and I can maneuver around you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you should let it be known as, and take it as someone's letting you know where you stand and that they're underestimating you. It's like, oh, okay. And the best FU you can give is to blow it out the water.
To finish. Right?
You know, I'm good. You know, I have a very blessed life. I have amazing mentors. I have people who love me, who care about me. I'm in my right mind. It's been hard for me to get here, but you know, I got a postdoc, a humanities postdoc. Then I got a tenure track job. I have tenure. I have a book coming out. I had 2 books come out this year.
Wow.
I got books in the pipeline. I have my own book series. All these things you told me that I couldn't do.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You know, somebody just gave me money to like write about Beyonce. Okay.
Wow.
You know, the best thing you can do is be successful. And again, they're letting you know where you stand and say, thank you. Thank you. Thank you for letting me know where I stand, and watch me. Watch me. And, you know, if you piss me off, there was one girl who said this, because I was in public health school, and she was like a chemistry PhD or something. She was working in a lab, whatever. And this just a random, like, white chick. And I told her what I was doing. I was like, I'm getting a master's, and I was like, and then I'm gonna go get my PhD in comp lit. And she was like, you can't do that. She's like, excuse me, you don't know me, right? Like, you don't know I'm Wanda's and Gregory's daughters. You don't know I'm Clara May's granddaughter. You don't know any of these things about me, and yet you gonna tell me what I can't do?
Yeah.
Watch me. I don't even know. I think her name was like Alex or whatever. That girl did the best thing for me, because I was like, screw her, whatever. I'm going to do this. You know, I just, thank you.
So you have to be confident. You have to use it as motivation.
It is such motivation for me. And I think, like, in the midst of it, it's hard to see. And in the midst of it, it's hard to, like, picture and lock it together. But, like, looking back on it, it's just like, it just wasn't an option for me. And like a similar thing with my tenure fight. Mm-hmm. Like, you know, certain people didn't want me with tenure. They didn't value what I did and mm-hmm. what I do. They don't see it as valid. And like, God revealed it to me 2 years before I got tenure. Like, I was getting tenure. So I was like, God told me, so I don't know.
Okay. I'm with that. God already told me.
You know, I was like 2 years, and, you know, it was just like, do these things and you'll be fine, but you're getting it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, you know, if I have revelation, if I know whose I am, if I have, you know, a whole bank of ancestors coming for me, what can you do?
I'm with that. I'm with that.
Yeah.
I agree. You definitely have to have that type of attitude in this thing.
And you have to ground yourself in your spiritual practice. You have to ground yourself in knowing who you are and why you are here.
Yeah.
Right? I am the granddaughter on one side and the great-granddaughter on the other side of domestics. Mm-hmm. And I keep it in my head that my people clean white folks' toilets so I could be here.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you think I'm going to let you be the one to destroy me? Won't be you. Might be someone else, but it ain't going to be you. Never.
That's a good way. That's a good.
I was like, it might be somebody else. I ain't saying that I can't be brought down, but it ain't gonna be you.
Definitely. So do you have anything else or any other tidbit of information or advice for someone going through graduate school who might not think like, maybe I'm not good enough, or, you know, maybe I should just stop?
Did you get in? If you got in, you're good enough. It really, it's not about being the smartest at all. Again, there are people who are so much more intelligent, so much more well-rounded, well-traveled, more exposed to things and whatever. It really is tenacity.
Yeah.
It really is the sheer stubbornness of getting through and jumping through those hoops. That's all it is. That's what it is. Because we know we leave people by the wayside who were amazing scholars.
Yeah.
But it's the little stuff that trips people up.
Yeah. Yeah.
That are made big. It's the dissertation, it's the politics, it's the confidence, all of these certain things that will trip people up. And you just have to have a good crew of folks around you, and get your crew. Who is your crew? That's who I'm always asking. Who your people? The way we do this is by banding in numbers. And taking care of each other. You cannot do this individually. Again, this system is literally made against everything that you represent. You can't do it by yourself. Now, with your sanity intact, and and not being someone people actually want to know and like.
Yeah.
Have multiple mentors. Have mentors of people who publish stuff steadily. Oh, okay, I like that. I have life mentors, people who are partnered, people who actually still like their partners, right? People who are not partnered and who have awesome lives and are just living it up and doing all these things that they want to do. People who have children, people who don't have children, but people who have these communities, that I admire and have certain things together. No one's going to have it all together.
Yeah.
And you can't focus on you can't put all your stuff on one person. That's why you have to have a crew.
Yeah. I agree. I completely agree. So I just want to say thank you for sharing your experience and giving a different insight. I didn't want my voice to be the only voice on my YouTube channel because everyone has different experiences in graduate school. I know that a lot of people don't know who to talk to. Sometimes, you want to go to graduate school, but you don't have a community of people to talk to. Sometimes your families never, went there. So
I don't understand what I do. My mom's like, wait, I come from an education family, so they get teaching, but the writing stuff. And it took 10 years for my books, and my mom's like, your book ain't out yet.
You still writing that book?
When is your book coming out? I need that book to come out just so she can show it out to the people.
Right. She got this book. You see?
That's what she's like, this is my baby book. My baby book. Here she go. It's good. She ain't gonna read it.
Right. I'm put it on the coffee table and let you see that it's
No. She gonna but she gonna have multiple copies, but she ain't read.
That's fine. That's fine. As long as she get the book. Is
this that zombie stuff? This is that Kenitra. This is ridiculous. I can't. Girl, I can't believe I get paid to do this.
Right, you get paid to do that?
What? I was like, yeah, I do have a real job. Now, I have a real job that she likes when I get to travel interesting places because she's like, I'm coming.
I'm coming with you. Yeah, that's one of the perks.
She coming to Cuba, girl. She coming to Cuba.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. She will hitch a ride. She'll tag along really nicely. She was in Puerto Rico at NWSA. My mom will hop on. And then folks were looking for her because she would go to the oh, is your mom come? I'm like, I'm the scholar. I'm the one who. They were like, oh, is she coming? Because we really enjoyed her contribution.
Oh, well, look, let me stop this recording.
Oh.